Hello everybody, today's topic is conditional sentences. There are three main types of conditional sentence: first, second and third conditional, and also zero and mixed conditional sentences exist as well. First, conditional sentences. Let's see via example. If I see Andrew at the meeting, I will give him your message. This is first conditional sentences. First part is in present simple and second one is future simple. Use to talk about something that is quite likely to happen in the future. It is very possible that I will see Andrew at the meeting, in which case I will give him your message. The condition is quite likely to be fulfilled for presenting future plans, real possibilities, steps in an argument, points in a procedure, predictable consequences and instructions. We use conditional sentence such situations. Let's talk about second conditional sentences. What would happen if, or hypothetical conditional sentences is this. If my parents were alive, they would be very proud of me now. First part is present simple, the second one would plus infinitive. To talk about present situation, which is impossible, a hypothetical situation. The situation cannot be fulfilled because my parents are not alive. If you changed your job, she would be much happier. Use to talk about a future event which is unlikely to happen. The speaker doesn't expect to change your job. That is unlikely that condition will be fulfilled. Let's talk about third type of conditional. Third conditional. What would have happened if? If she had worked harder, she would have passed your exams. First part, past perfect. Second part is with plus perfect tense. To talk about something that might have happened in the past but didn't. She didn't work hard enough and consequently she didn't pass her exams. It is also expresses excuses, regrets, and blame for the past events. The conditional sentence is also called factual conditional sentence as well. What happens if? If I stay out late, I always take a taxi home. First part is in present simple and it's the same. Second part is also present simple because this is factual information used to describe something that is generally true. The use of if here is very similar to when. For presenting habits, general truths, rules, typical patterns, and correlations. We also use the past simple in two clauses. If I stayed out late, I always got a taxi home. Both sides are in past simple here because this is also factual information. Conditional sentences. Variations in tenses. First conditional sentence. If the if clause is usually in the present simple, however, we can also use present continuous, present perfect simple, present perfect continuous, can and should. Let's see via examples here. If he's ill waiting for you, he will be very angry. Present perfect simple. If Robus received your letter, he will phone you. Present perfect continuous. If it's been raining at night, you will have to wear boots. Can. If I can finish my work early, I will help you. Should. If I should see him, I will tell him the news. The main clause usually has verb, will and shall, but we can also use going to, future continuous, future perfect, imperative, can, could, may, might, should, ought to, or must. Via examples, if Helen passes your exams, I am going to buy her a present. Future continuous. If I have booked this holiday, I will be lying on the beach in 2 weeks' time. Future perfect. If they win the next match, they will have won every match on the season. Imperative. If you need me, call me. And can, could. Let's look through all in all modal verbs here. If you don't eat your dinner, you can't have an ice cream. And tenses also variations in conditional sentence type 2. The if clause usually takes the past simple, however, it's also possible to use. Past continuous. If you were coming with me, I would give you a lift. With could. If I could you the day off, I would go with you here. Were and was to. If you were to ask Steve, I'm sure he would do it. The main clause usually had the modal would plus infinitive. However, the modals could and might are also used, and the infinitive can be in the continuous form here. For example, if we had more money, we wouldn't be living here. Or another example here, if we had more money, we could go out more. If you ask Tony, he might do it for you. There is modal plus infinitive. Tense variations in conditional type 3 here. The if clause is usually in the present perfect simple. However, we can also use the past perfect continuous or could plus present infinitive. If he had been traveling in the car, he would have been killed too. Or another example here, if we could have got a taxi, we would have come round to see you. Okay, the main clause usually had the modal with plus infinitive or with plus perfect infinitive. However, we can also use the modal could and might plus perfect infinitive. For example, if I had known there was no more work to do, I could have stayed in bed. Or, if the ambulance had come sooner, he might have been saved. And mixed conditionals. There is also mixed type of conditional here. Let's look through the via types and examples. If clause can be mixed, provided that they can make sense within a context. Type 3 here. If clause and main clause. Let's look through with if clause first. If she had worked harder at university, she would have a degree now. First one is type 3 and second one type 2 here now, because he had not degree now. The sentence is about present event. Type 2. If I were faster, I would have won the race. First part is type 2 and next part is type 3 here, because next part is unreal condition. And if they were studying all morning, they will be tired now. First one is type 2 and second one is type 1, because the second part of the sentence depends on the present situation. Words other than if. We can use following words instead of just if in these conditional sentences. Unless. I won't go out unless he comes too. Even if it rains, we will go out that much. If only I had money, I would go out more. And as long as or so long as here, you can use the car as long as you take care of it. On condition or on condition that. I will lend the car on condition that you take care of it. Providing or provided that here. I will lend the car providing that you can take care of it. Assuming that you take the care of the car, I will lend it to you. In questions, suppose you had a lot of money, would you give up the work? What if you had a lot of money, would you give it up work? Or imagine you had a lot of money, would you give up work? They are question forms. And implied conditionals. Conditionals are not always expressed in front of conditional sentences, particularly in spoken English. They can be expressed in another way, or they may be evident from the context. The rules for the verb usage are still followed in the result clause or main clause here. He committed the crime, otherwise he wouldn't have been arrested. This is implied conditional. If he hadn't committed the crime, he wouldn't have been arrested. Or I would have stayed longer, but he didn't ask me to. Implied conditional as well, that is. And I would have stayed longer if I had asked to me. Let's talk about inversion here. If the first verb is conditional, if clause is should, were, or had, we can leave out if and put the verb at the start of the clause. We do this particularly in formal or literary English. Should any of these cost you anything, send me bill. or in brackets. If any of these should be at the beginning of the sentences here, and they are inverted here. If it would be embarrassing were she to find out the truth. If she to find out is leave out here. And the third example is, had they not rushed to hospital, then would have died. If they hadn't rushed here. This is inversion for conditional. We use if it was or were not for plus noun to say that situation is dependent on another situation. For example, if it wasn't or were not to the fireman, my dog would have died in the fire. If it hadn't been for my parents, I wouldn't have gone to the university. We also use but for plus noun with a similar meaning. But for Jim's support, I wouldn't have got the job. In real conditional sentences, we use if happen to, if should happen to talk something that may be possible, but it's not very likely. If you happen to be in our area, drop in and see us. If you should be in our area, drop in and see us. If you should happen to be in our area, the same with the previous sentences, drop in and see us. Polite requests. All in all, the last usage of conditional is here, polite requests. We can use if, will in requests. This is polite and very formal way here. If you will take your seats, ladies and gentlemen, we can begin the meeting. This is formal and polite speech of it. If you want to make a request more polite, you can use if would. Please keep. We can use would in if part to give polite request in sentence. If you will take your seats, ladies and gentlemen, we can begin the meeting. It makes our speech more informal and polite way. Okay, they are all about the conditional sentence that I was going to announce to you. Thank you for your attention.